What's up, Jets fans? It's Christian from the Jets Report, and today we're going to be discussing my first 2021 mock draft for the New York Jets. So, just a disclaimer for this mock draft, we are indeed trading Sam Darnold for a second-round pick from Washington, making it the 51st overall pick. I've heard some rumors and rumblings from Adam Schefter saying that Sam Darnold could go for a late first, but I'm going to stay on the safer side and trade him for a second-round pick and hopefully build for the future and trade Sam Darnold to a playoff team where he has a chance of great success with a great coaching staff and a great defense in Washington. So before I do my mock draft, the needs that the Jets should be looking at this offseason after trading away Sam Darnold is obviously quarterback. Then there's edge rusher, interior offensive line, running back, corner, receiver. Those are the six main needs that hopefully the Jets do target in the 2021 NFL Draft. So at pick number 2, I'm taking Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU, who is a junior. He stands at 6'3", 210 pounds. His stats in 2019 where he completed 62.4% of his passes for 2,382 yards, 11 TDs, and 9 interceptions. Then in his breakout season in 2020, he completed 73.5% of his passes for 3,692 yards, 33 TDs, and 3 interceptions. So obviously there's some concern about Zach Wilson playing some lesser talent at BYU and not really having that experience against a great D-line. But in the biggest game of the year against Coastal Carolina, he balled out, he played a solid game, and he never really had that poor game that some other quarterback prospects have had, like a Justin Fields. But to go over his game, he did say he really likes the Kyle Shanahan system, even before the Jets brought in Mike LaFleur to implement the Kyle Shanahan system in New York. He said in an interview that it would fit him best and fits his skill set best. So it seems like a match made in heaven. He has this swagger in his game that reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, where he has a great arm talent and can really throw it into spaces that not many quarterbacks can with just a flick of the wrist. He is mobile in the way that he could scramble in the pocket and make throws in the run, and he could create some plays for himself, kind of like we had with Sam Darnold. And hopefully, Zach Wilson becomes a top 5 quarterback and becomes the quarterback of the future and maybe the best quarterback in Jets franchise history because we really haven't had that many great ones since Namath. So going with pick number 23, I'm taking Gregory Rousseau, Miami edge rusher. He's also a junior, standing at 6'7", 265 pounds. His 2019 stats, he did opt out of the 2020 season, but in 2019 he had 54 tackles, 15 and a half sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. So he obviously had a monstrous season with 15 and a half sacks. It's crazy. The Jets haven't had that many sacks ever. I mean, John Abraham was the last relevant edge rusher we had. But he's a great athlete, and he does seem a little stiff at times on the field, but he's a great athlete to say the less. And he's not the most explosive, but he's quick, and he could attack through both the inside and the outside against offensive tackles to help get to the quarterback. And he's stellar against the run, and obviously his passing attack is very good as well, recording 15 and a half sacks. So pick number 34, I'm taking Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State, who's also a junior and plays interior offensive line, mainly guard. He's standing at 6'4", 315 pounds. And according to ESPN, he's only allowed 1 sack as a 3-year starter at Ohio State. So he started since freshman year, and he's basically been a brick wall in the pass and run game. He's a wide-bodied blocker who clogs up the middle, and really you don't see Ohio State getting any pressure against them through the middle with Wyatt Davis playing. He is a first-round talent, but he did suffer a knee injury against Alabama in the national championship game, which did definitely hurt his stock. And if he falls to 34 at the Jets, absolute steal. I mean, I'll be happy if we take him on pick number 23, but I have a feeling the knee injury might affect his draft stock a little bit. So if he falls to pick number 34, I'm all over that. Submit the card right away to Roger Goodell. So at pick number 51 from Washington, I'm taking Tyson Campbell, cornerback out of Georgia, who's a junior. He stands at 6'2", 185 with ideal size. In 2019, he recorded 15 tackles, 0 interceptions, and 4 pass deflections, but he was also injured that year. In 2020, he had 26 tackles, 1 interception, and 4 pass deflections, where he did play a full season. He's an athletic quarterback with ideal size that every NFL team is looking for in the draft, and he's very quick in the open field. And he's great. He's stellar against man on man on the outside, what the Jets could definitely use, and he could definitely develop into a cornerback one. Because if you see Robert Saleh, looking back at San Francisco days, those cornerbacks, not even Richard Sherman, but the other guys, they were like Witherspoon. They were always developing from mid-round picks into starting caliber corners, so I'm hoping he can do that with Tyson Campbell. The one knock on Tyson Campbell's game is he does lack in situational defending and situational coverage sometimes, especially through some zone packages. And also his ball skills, he does only have one career interception in 2 years. But he also, looking at his film, he doesn't really give up the big play, but he obviously definitely needs to work on his ball skills if he wants to become an elite corner at the NFL level. So at pick number 66 in the third round, I'm taking Tylan Wallace, wide receiver out of Oklahoma State, who's a senior. He stands at 5'11", 193. In 2019, he had 53 receptions for 903 yards and 8 TDs. And in 2020, he had 59 receptions for 922 yards and 6 TDs. So he's basically been a model of consistency looking at his stats at Oklahoma State. He's used mainly in an air raid system at Oklahoma State, so that does definitely affect his route tree, similar with Denzel Mims and another Big 12 offense at Baylor. But Denzel Mims, as you see, he's trying to develop his route running through training camp and midway through the season, and he definitely grew into a better receiver towards the end of the year. He has average speed, but he specializes in 50-50 balls, similar to Denzel Mims, so they could be a great pair on the outside. And he definitely is good in the short passing game as well. He could perform some precise routes in the short passing game. And his route running does get a little more hate than it should, just because the offense he played in Oklahoma State. I feel like he could be a better route runner instantly than he already shows on tape. But he could come in as the wide receiver 3 or 4 right away, depending on who we sign on free agency. I feel like if we go out and get a guy like Curtis Samuel, which could be a pretty realistic signing for us, and have Wallace play the wide receiver 4 early on in his career, and then develop into a starting outside receiver next to Mims for the future. So lastly, at pick number 86 in the third round, I'm taking Kenny Gainwell, running back out of Memphis, who's a junior. He's standing at 5'11", 191 pounds. He did opt out of the 2020 season due to COVID, but in 2019, he had an absolutely monster year. He had over 1,400 rushing yards for 13 TDs, and he also had 51 receptions for 610 yards and 3 TDs through the passing game. So obviously, just looking at his stats right away, you see him as a receiving back. He's extremely elusive and a great route runner with great footwork and can create a lot of separation out of the backfield. And he's not a bruising running back, but he could hit the holes quick and break out for some big gains out of the running game. And he did run a spread system at Memphis, so it might take him a little bit to transition to the NFL. But if you look at his counterpart from Memphis who played, Antonio Gibson, he had a monster season at Washington, playing that similar elusive screen back role, like used a lot in the screen game, out of the backfield, quick short passes. Antonio Gibson had a great rookie season, and I see a guy like Kenny Gainwell playing pretty similar to him. Sorry, the camera cut out there, but I was just finishing up on saying Kenny Gainwell can play that Antonio Gibson type of role where there's a bunch of running backs in that backfield like they had with Barber and Peterson in Washington. And I feel like Gainwell can complement Pirine and Johnson nice, giving us a trio of 3 young running backs who we could have for the next couple of years who all specialize in their own things. And it could be a scary backfield in a Mike LaFleur offense. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know who you like and who you want to draft in the comments section down below. And as always, go Jets.